And welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. So do me a favor, please hit subscribe, watch, comment. Please keep those comments coming and share with your family and friends because the nonsense, the chaos, it's not stopping. Now, look, if you thought it couldn't get any worse than, say, Trump's pardons for the 1,500 plus January 6th rioters, some of whom beat up cops, trashed our Capitol building, well, you must underestimate Trump's ability to lower the bar. Because right now, he says that he's not going to rule out a pardon for a convicted sex trafficker. And I'm talking about Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, Ghislaine was Epstein's ex-girlfriend who actually helped him to recruit the young women, the children, to be abused. But right now, she's just been moved to, let's just call it, a cushier minimum security prison in Texas. Now, let me be clear. As somebody that was at a satellite camp, none of them are cushy, but certainly a whole lot better than where she was at before. And let me also be clear. It's a place where sex traffickers don't get to go. You know what it is? It's a sign that Ghislaine thinks that she has leverage over Trump. Then again, why wouldn't she? When he sends his own personal attorney, to say his deputy, our deputy attorney general, who's supposed to work for us, down to meet with her and to discuss potential immunity. On my Mea Culpa podcast, I'm joined by my friend Asha Rangappa, a legal analyst and former FBI agent, to unpack why Todd Blanche met with Ghislaine and how Trump is maybe hoping to just get rid of all of this. Play the clip. So Todd Blanche, Trump's former lawyer and now turned deputy attorney general, sat down with Ghislaine Maxwell for hours and hours of questioning. Now, of course, she got a proffer immunity. I want you to explain to my listeners, because I think there's some real misinformation that's going on out there. What's the legal rationale that would justify granting immunity to a convicted sex trafficker already serving a sentence?
I have been going over that, in different forums. I mean, Michael, come on. You and I know, unless, are we really to believe that there is something that Ghislaine Maxwell can offer now after decades of being investigated? Okay, let's remember her involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, even though she wasn't the direct target of that investigation, the one in the Southern District of Florida that spanned from 1999 to 2005, she would have been, a part of that. The charges that led to his being indicted in 2019, she would have come up in that. She herself was charged in 2020. In all this time, she's never come forward. But now suddenly she's got new and credible information to give after she's been convicted of, sex trafficking and has been sentenced to 20 years in prison. I cannot think of a single reason, that she would have any kind of new or credible information that would be of use to the Justice Department. That would not have come to light by now if it actually existed. And I also can talk about, even if she did have this information, the fact that he went to this interview by himself, not with the prosecutor who did the case, not with any other FBI agents, right, not with anybody who actually knows the facts of the case inside and out. How is he going to know if it's new or if it's credible?
So interestingly enough, when I was in Otisville, the Manhattan District Attorney came to Otisville and sat down with me on 3 separate occasions. I don't know if you know that story. They showed up. Yeah. They went through Lanny Davis. They contacted him. He reached out to me. We had an attorney-client privilege phone call and asked me if I would be willing to sit down with them. Now, of course, they granted me a proffer immunity for the sit down. There was no way in the world I was going to sit down with these animals, right? Especially while I'm wearing green and they're wearing suits without a proffer immunity, meaning whatever we discuss, if they happen to disagree or it happens to be wrong, I certainly didn't need new charges coming against me. Here's the thing. One, what Todd Blanche, while completely unusual, one, it's not illegal. But here's the thing that kind of weirded me out, because I agree with you. Why would she not have made a deal to provide any information on somebody bigger than her to the FBI, to law enforcement, to the prosecutors, who are always looking to step it up in order to get a reduced sentence? 20 years is a long freaking time. Let me be clear, all right? It's a really long time. But now she says that they discussed 100 different people. Here's the thing, though. One of the crazy things is when I was meeting again with these prosecutors from the Manhattan DA's office, every single thing that I told them where to find corroborating documentary evidence or corroborating testimony. I know the case in and out. So I was able to guide them into what they needed to do, where they needed to look in terms of the file. Well, they did that, which is what was the reason they came back a second and a third time. When I was ultimately released, why they called me again and asked me if I would come down and meet. You think that any of the 100 names that she allegedly spoke to Todd Blanche about, that there is some form of evidence, documentary evidence inside this file that, of course, nobody has had a chance to see yet?
I mean, are you asking whether there's corroboration for what she's saying? Is that what you're saying? I mean, I don't even think they care about that, Michael. I mean, one thing that we have to remember with Trump, think back to the perfect phone call with Zelensky, right? And remember, he wanted Zelensky to get on CNN and announce an investigation into the Bidens. He actually didn't care if there was an actual investigation. What he wanted was someone else to point the finger at Biden and say Biden did something illegal and he's being investigated. And that was going to be they were just going to run with that, right? Whatever happened after that, whether Ukraine investigated him or not. And I think that's really what's at stake here. This is not about actually building a case. We have had, 3 different sets of prosecutors in 2 different jurisdictions between the Southern District of Florida and the Southern District of New York look at all of this evidence and what they have said. And even Trump's own Justice Department very recently said, there's no one else we can charge on this, which isn't to say that there's nobody else in the files who's done anything bad, right? But the Justice Department manual requires that if you bring charges, they have to be charges that you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt and secure a conviction. And that's really hard to do, in these kinds of cases. They're not going to build a case on whoever she points the finger at. Was she going to be the star witness? The person who was charged with 2 counts of perjury?
Sure. I hear that all the time, that there's no way that she could be, a credible witness. And I say bullshit to that. I had same things being said about me day in and day. Oh, he lied to Congress, regardless what I lied about, right? The number of times that I claimed to have spoken to Trump about the failed Trump Tower Moscow project, I said 3. The real answer was 10. Everybody kept running with it. All these assholes these pundits on TV. Oh, Michael Cohen's not a credible witness because he got charged with 1,001 violation.
Ghislaine Maxwell lied about, literally lied about her own involvement in these. She lied about what she was eventually convicted for.
Mm-hmm.
I think in magnitude and the nature of it, I would say it would be really hard for her to be a star witness unless
of course, that everything that she says is corroborated by either documentary evidence or, some corroborating statement by a third party. I mean, I think that you can build the case, just because she lied then doesn't mean that she's lying now. Not everything that comes out of her mouth is a lie, but I'm with you. She's a difficult witness, but I hate when they say that it can never be. Don't forget, off of my testimony at not only a civil trial, but also a criminal trial, both ended up in convictions.
Yeah, listen, prosecutors do use people later, but I mean, Michael, and I mean this as definitely a compliment. You are not in the same universe as
I appreciate it.
I mean, just on a number of fronts, right? I mean, you cooperated with other investigations. You did testify, in front of. I mean,
7 times.
Right. So Ghislaine Maxwell, I would just say, is, in terms of the depravity of her actions, what she's lied about, her own participation and culpability in the victimization of these women, in my opinion, would not be the person that I, as a prosecutor, would be like, here's who we want to hang our hat on. And there may be corroboration, but I guess my question to you, Michael, is why isn't Todd Blanche talking to the victims?
So I'm so glad you asked me. So smart, Asha. That's why I asked you to come on, right? Because you're right. Todd Blanche is not some junior prosecutor, right? I mean, we're talking about right now the guy who is the second highest law enforcement officer in the country, sitting there in the room with Ghislaine. I want to ask you, first and foremost, how unusual is it for a deputy attorney general to actually personally conduct an in-prison proffer session like this?
I mean, have you ever heard of it before?
I have not.
I mean, did Rod Rosenstein come and talk to you when you were in prison?
No.
No.
I would have asked him to buy. I would have asked him to buy me what do you call it? An ice cream and a soda.
The deputy attorney general is a number 2, right? Like they are there to oversee all of the U.S. attorney's offices. Yes, the Epstein case is huge, but it's not something that the deputy attorney general would be in the weeds on, right? Like they're dealing with policy stuff. They're dealing with strategic priorities. They're dealing with, managing the different offices across the country. So, it's unusual because why would he suddenly be the one on this case? The person that would be appropriate to conduct this interview, if one was necessary at all, is a prosecutor who prosecuted the case, who is Maureen Comey. And guess what happened to Maureen Comey? She got fired. Yeah. So why would you get rid of the person who's going to be who would know the most about this case? I mean,
I can actually give you the answer to that one.
Okay.
All right? Again, being somebody that was in that world, that would have, if I was in Trump's inner circle, I would have been the one going down there to meet with Ghislaine. And let me explain. Todd Blanche is not there to do anything other than a fact-finding mission on behalf of Trump. And by the way, since it's not illegal, I think it's actually a pretty ingenious move for whoever made the decision to send Todd Blanche. Why? Because he is a true loyalist. And at the end of the day, here's what they need to find out. Only one of 2 options. One, hypothetically, there is no information that Ghislaine to provide. Now they could rest much easier, knowing that there's nothing there. She'll do her time in exchange for maybe a couple of, good quips about Bill Clinton or, a bunch of Democrats that may have been to Epstein's Island. She could turn around and say some things like Trump was never on Epstein Island, which he made the claim today on. On top of that, they can go after some of the Democrats. They'll declare this a giant win. Or the second option, that there actually is something there. Now they know how and what they need to do to control the flow of that information. So that's really what this was. And Todd Blanche was, as far as I'm concerned, as a loyalist of Trump, the right guy to send there. Sending somebody like a Maureen Comey, you're basically looking at, another whistleblower scenario where she comes back with a report that is not favorable to Trump or maybe some of his allies.
Absolutely, because her client would have been the people of the United States.
Right. I mean, I did this whole great Substack on it where I broke it down. But let me ask you this, because Blanche actually wasn't over one day. This was a 2-day meeting, right? I mean, it's a lot on the government's clock. Do you think this is about getting facts from Maxwell, or, as I said, controlling the Epstein narrative before, I don't know, maybe this spirals out of control?
Oh, I think it's definitely about controlling the narrative, because I don't know. I mean, I guess to kind of your earlier point about, either she knows it something or she does it. I wouldn't trust her farther than I could kick her. If she's like, "Oh yeah, I don't know anything," like I'd be like, "Girl, I don't trust you." I mean, so it's very clear that like she wants something. Right.
You
So
think?
she's got, and I think the fact that he went means that she does know something and that she has power, which is why they have to go and offer something. And the question is, what are they going to be willing to hand her to not say what she knows? I don't think this is a question that she doesn't know something, or are they going to be able to strike some deal? They offer something and then she points the fingers at everybody other than Trump, kind of. But there was no fact-finding mission. This was a deal-making mission. And I'm just curious how far Trump is going to make. But my other question, Michael, I've just been turning this around in my head. What could possibly be so damaging to Trump at this point? This man could do anything.
Yeah, this one, yeah, I'm not, you know what?
I just like, he could be like, yeah, and in the files, of course, like I was, this man was my friend until I kicked him to the curb. So I'm in the files.
By the way,
like,
we know.
Yeah. We know this. So like, why is he acting so weird? What is he afraid of?
Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.